All right, hey there. In this video, I'm going to be creating a marketing task management system, and I'm going to be doing that using a tool called Airtable. In my work as a marketing advisor and as a strategist, I will often begin working with a marketing team, and this is one of the first things we'll do. And the reason why is because a lot of teams just don't have a centralized place where all of their marketing tasks live. And because of that, they end up feeling scattered. They end up living between multiple tools. They end up having decision fatigue around what tool to adopt for their tasks. And when we begin working together, before we make some big decision or investment in tooling or try to figure out what the best solution is for them long term, I like to get started in what I think of as like a MVP, a minimum viable product when it comes to their task management system. And what it allows us to do is figure out what do they really need, what kind of tasks tend to come through the system, and it gives us a starting place on how to prioritize marketing tasks, how to delegate those tasks to the right people, and then learn who needs to be notified of these tasks, and how do we measure what is being done. So you can look back and see, are we working on the right activities? So I'm going to be showing you how to do that in this video today. If we've never connected or met before, my name is Sean Pritzkow. I am like I said, a marketing advisor and strategist, and I build systems and help teams create processes that allow them to begin a marketing program or scale their marketing program to help them achieve their goals. And this is actually one of the first videos I'm posting on this channel. For a long time, I wanted to essentially take what I'm already doing day to day and just be able to share that online, connect with new people. And this allows me to share these videos with clients I'm working with, document my work, and altogether just hopefully support people that are doing good work and helping them grow their marketing. I do a lot of work in the social impact space, and so a lot of times these companies or organizations don't have the bandwidth or the resources to pool in a really expensive marketing like task management tool, or they're hesitant or they find it hard to agree on a tool. So I'm going to show us a really easy thing to get set up. It is a little custom, so you're building something that is going to be like tailor-made for your team, and I see that as a big plus, so that this tool works for you and you're not just taking something off the shelf and trying to fit into the mold of how that tool operates. So I'm excited to get into it. I have my coffee ready, so hope you do too. And let's get started. All right, so pulled up right here, I have the example of what we'll be building. It's a marketing task management system. In this tool called Airtable, it appears on the front end very similar to something like a spreadsheet. So if we were to essentially ungroup all of the things I have here, you're going to see that this is rows and columns, just very similar to a Google spreadsheet. And what we have is we have these things or these items, these tasks grouped by status, to do, in progress, and done. And then we have different columns with different information in the columns. We have notes, we have priority, how important that task is. We have the date that task is going to be due. We have who it's being assigned to. In this example, I've assigned them all to myself. And then finally, we have who requested that task to be performed. And we have all of that in this view. And then in Airtable, we can actually take this data and manipulate it into other ways to view the data. So you have on the left right here, I built a Kanban or a Kanban board, depending how you say it. And this is very similar to something like Trello, where you can see from left to right the progression of a task's life cycle, right? Or the journey of this task, going from to do ultimately to done. And this is the simplest form that we can do. In this view, we can actually click into these things and see more info about those tasks. We can also view these on a calendar. So these 3 example tasks are all due on the 10th of this month. We click into those tasks and view a little bit more information about them. And I've created a form. So if we're going to view this form, we can send this form link to someone on your team and they can fill out a task that will be added to the system. And then in a little bit more complexity, we can actually create an app around this data. So if we go into interfaces, we can actually see an app that I built that looks like that Kanban or Kanban view. So I'm going to show you how to build this from scratch so that all of your marketing tasks can be either submitted to a system from someone on your team, or you can add those tasks yourself and then update the priority, the due date. You can assign those to team members, and all of that will be done in your Airtable base. So let's get started. So here I have a blank Airtable base. So if you were in Airtable, you can simply go ahead and create a new base, and you're going to see something like this, and I've given it a title. I like to start like completely from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new table and start from scratch. I like to delete all of these records because they all have info associated with them already, like the date created. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of these columns right here. We're going to delete them so that we can start purely from scratch. I'm going to go ahead and name this table. I'm going to rename it marketing tasks. And then automatically each item in this table is going to be called a task, which is really great. Go ahead and name this task name, so we can be very specific that this is the name of a task. We want to go in and we're going to look for a text field. A long text field is what we want, so we can have more text in that field. And we're going to enable rich text formatting that allows us to like have bullet points and numbered lists and things like that in the notes. I'm just going to kind of expand these. We know these are going to be a little bit lengthy. And another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the row height to extra tall, and I'll show you why. So the next thing we're going to do is we want to give this task priority. So we can type in priority, and then there's a rating. So we can kind of give this maximum 5-star rating here. Then we're going to give a date. So we're going to say due date. It's going to be a date field. We don't need time for this example. Then we're going to assign this task to someone on our team. And for this, we can just do a text field, single select field. And then we are going to give the status. So this will be a select field. And we're going to have our options be to do, in progress, and done. Oops. Mark that as status. And then lastly, we want this will be for later, but we want to know who requested this. And I'm going to do this by email for now. Great. So let's connect. Let's actually create a task here so we can see some sample data, and I'll fill in this info. So let's say that this is posting launch video to Instagram. We could maybe drop a link in here and say, download the video from Vimeo and upload to our Instagram account. And we're in the middle of a launch phase, so this is a really, really important task, and it needs to be done by this upcoming Friday. This is a single select field, so you could add options here. So let's say that we have Mike and Susan, and Ty on our team. And you would probably put their last name, and eventually we'll build this out a little bit so you can have emails and things like that. So we're going to assign this to Ty. The status is going to be to do. And I actually like to go in here and mark the default option to do so that anytime you add a task, it's always going to be in to do status. And then let's say I requested this. So now we have our first task in here. And just to recap what we did is we created the structure for this base, and then we did a sample row. And if we were to click views, I like to rename this all tasks. And so now we know that when we go into this view, this is gonna be all of the tasks. And I like to group this by status. So we know we have one task here that is in its to-do state. If we were to add another task, and let's say that we need to send the newsletter, the copy is below, and here is copy. This isn't as important as our launch video, and it's due at the end of the month. And we'll assign this to Susan. And let's say I also submitted this. Then we can say this is in progress. And now you can see this is grouped by the status, to do, in progress, or done. And this is at a high level. We have our tasks in one spot, and they're organized by status. So another thing I like to do is create additional views so that we can view this data in a few different ways. The two that I think are going to be really great for this use case is a Kanban board, where we can view this data by status, left to right. So I like to hide this first column. It's uncategorized, meaning there's no status applied to it yet. And now we have to do, in progress, and done. We can go and we can move these between these, very similar to like Trello. If we click into them, we can see the additional info and actually the history based on that item. So this is really helpful. We can, add new tasks here by typing new task and putting in information, and then we can fill out this info. So now we have more tasks in our system. So now there's 3 here. Another view I like to do is a calendar view. And I find this is really helpful for teams because we can, select by due date, and now we can view these on a calendar and see when things are due. I like to personally customize, or actually color, these fields by their status. So now we can see that everything here, these 2 items are, I believe, to do, and then this one is in progress. And you can customize these colors to something that makes sense for you. So if we go to views, we go to all tasks, now we see we have our 3 tasks here. This is at a very high level. We have our task management system built. Now let's say we don't just want to add these items ourselves. We have people that email us these tasks, and they end up living in an inbox and not in our system. So what I like to do, and I find is the easiest way for people to get started, is to create a form that you can distribute to people on your team. They can bookmark it. It can live somewhere in a portal for your team. People can bookmark it or email it to one another. And this is where people begin to add tasks to the system. So to create a new form, we're going to go over to the top here where it says forms. We're going to create a new form. The table is going to be marketing tasks. The form name is going to be new marketing tasks. Go ahead and create form. And you can see that Airtable gives us a pretty good starting spot. We have all of our columns that we had just created all on this form. And this is going to look very similar to something maybe like a Google form if you've used one before. To customize this, we can add a cover image. So I'm going to actually pull an image from my desktop, pull a photo of my office here, and then I can add a logo to the top of the field. So first, let's add that logo. Let me go ahead and select my logo file and upload it. And now we have a nice looking form. So let's say like notes right here. We can add helper text, which I like to say something to the effect of, Please be thorough and include everything, including relevant files or links, so that we have all the info we need. Something that effect so that you're really getting the information you need out of people. You can have someone submit priority. Often I'll delete this because I actually want to set the priority. And then due date. I don't know. Do you want people setting the due date for your marketing tasks, or do you want to set the due dates? Assignee. I like to delegate who's on the team is responsible for these tasks, or a marketing manager. So I don't like to offer that to the person submitting the form. Status is always going to be to do, so we'll remove that. And then let's see, requestee email. Or we can say your email is probably a better way to say this. And then we can have someone type in, their email address here. And there we go. We can hit publish, and then Airtable is going to give us a link to this form. I like to choose anyone on the web, copy this link. We can pass this around, and someone can fill out the form. So for example, let's say that we need to add a new blog post to website. Let's say the copy is, let's say insert, here's the link of our blog post, and someone can grab this and add it to the website. Say the due date, we need this out by the end of the month, and then I'm going to put my email address here and click submit. So we submit the form. We could customize where this form leads to at the end. So it could submit to, so that the user could submit another form. It's typically what I do. But you could also lead this to a page on your website or something. So let's go ahead and view our data. We can now see that that new task is in our system. And as someone who's managing the marketing tasks, the marketing, the leader of this team can now go ahead and say, well, this isn't, super important compared to the remainder of our work. But we can try to get it done maybe a little bit sooner, and we can assign that to someone on our team. And that should be pretty good for now, right? If we were to go ahead to our Kanban view, we can see what is in queue and see how our calendar looks. One of the things that I find really valuable is to have the system actually by default begin to prioritize your marketing tasks so that you know what is most important to work on first. And this is one of the things that teams really struggle with, is they have so much on their plate that they actually don't really know where to invest their energy first, and overwhelm begins to creep in. So I like to actually sort these tasks, and I do so first by due date. So that means the things that are closest to the current date are going to be the things that are at the top. And then after that, I like to sort by priority. And so you can see, if we were to do this in reverse, you can see our 9 to 1. That means 5 stars are going to be at the top. You can see here, 5-star tasks are up at the top. And then you can move this around. You can see we can prioritize things that are due sooner, and those will be at the top. And then second, it's going to prioritize by that rating. And this is typically what I'll do. I'll first sort by due date. So if something is maybe not a 5-level importance, but it's due, 2 days from now, it's likely that that is an urgent task that needs to get done. But if that task was a month out, we would have our more important tasks being prioritized. So I really like that. It helps people just visually see, the thing on top is the thing that we need to focus our time on. So this is at a high level, we have our system built here. And some things that I would do from here is if we had a lot of people that might be inside of our Airtable system, meaning that they have an account created and you have your whole team on this app, I might go ahead and create an interface or an app around this data. So I might go ahead and build an interface. I'll go ahead and call this our marketing tasks. And then I like to typically do a Kanban board and stack those by field. This is really useful if people are going to be inside of your base. Then they can, update these tasks themselves. Otherwise, you're probably going to have one person managing the system and allowing other people to contribute to the system from outside the organization. On the right here, I'll typically add some more fields. So let's say we're going to add the due date and the notes for this task, and then maybe the priority. So all of that is right here up on the top end. I'll do the still sort by our due date and our priority. So those are sorted very similarly to that view we created. And then I usually allow people to edit inline, to add records, and then be able to click into this. And this is going to allow it to feel somewhat like a Notion database where you can, when I publish, you can go to the system, create tasks, move them around, and then once you click them, you can actually view the data on the right here. If we were to click into these things, we likely will want to edit the data. So I click all of these and I will make them editable. So now someone can go ahead, click into these tasks, and they are all editable. So that's kind of the basis here, and then we can continue and maybe make a calendar view. We could make different ways to view this data. But this way, everything is in your system. It's able to be submitted from people external to the organization. People inside the organization can manipulate this data and begin to assign it to different people and prioritize it so that your task can get done in a way that makes sense. And if we were to spend more time in this, we can begin iterating on this data now that it's all in one spot. Airtable has a feature called automations, which allows us to extend this data and begin to potentially, let's say, for example, email someone who requested that the task is done once the task is complete. So I'll begin to do some more videos on this because this is something, like I said, when I get started with a client, we will often begin with building a system around their tasks so that they can have everything in one spot and then begin to build systems and processes on top of their tasks. So hopefully that was helpful. It's the first video in this channel. I just wanted to find something that I do on a recurring basis and be able to teach that, and hopefully you can learn from it. And if you're on a marketing team, you might be a soloist and you just need to begin to build a system like this for yourself. Hopefully that's a quick guide on how to do so. I think in roughly 15 minutes, we created a task management system. Airtable has really flexible pricing, specifically for individuals. So if this is something that you can manage yourself with one person in this app, you can begin to build apps like this or multiple databases, and that gives you a spot that has, it helps you start in a good spot with one place for your data. Everything is structured, and I like to say that it's portable. If you begin to move into another tool and you find something that as your organization gets bigger and you're adding more team members, that you can adopt a new tool, and it's very likely that you can take this data, you can export it, and then migrate it to another tool. So hopefully you found this helpful. I'm excited to see those of you that begin to implement something like this. And if you have any questions, you can find me right in the comments below, and I'll pay attention and be able to answer right there. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.